What if everything you know about reality is just one thread in an infinite cosmic tapestry? Picture this: somewhere out there, another version of you is making a different choice, living a different life, in a world where the rules of physics twist into something unrecognizable. This isn't just science fiction, it's a tantalizing possibility that has haunted scientists, philosophers, and storytellers for centuries. Parallel dimensions, those hidden layers of existence where time folds, space warps, and the unimaginable becomes ordinary. Today, we're embarking on a journey through these cosmic doorways, where the stories we tell about the universe are rewritten and the boundaries of reality blur. Think about the myths that have shaped human culture: tales of gods walking among mortals, of realms beyond our own, of destinies that fork like paths in an endless forest. These aren't just fantasies, they're echoes of a deeper truth we've always sensed but never quite grasped. What if ancient civilizations were onto something? What if their stories were glimpses into dimensions we're only now beginning to understand? From the multiverse theories of cutting-edge physics to the mind-bending narratives of modern sci-fi, the idea that we're not alone in the cosmos takes on a whole new meaning. Because alone implies there's only one version of us, and that might be the most astonishing illusion of all. So why does this matter? Why should we care about realms we may never see or touch? Because the quest to understand parallel dimensions is really a quest to understand ourselves. Every time we imagine another world, we're holding up a mirror to our own, asking what's fixed, what's flexible, and what secrets the universe might still be hiding. This isn't just about alternate realities. It's about the stories we use to make sense of existence. And as we unravel these cosmic mysteries together, you might just find yourself questioning the very fabric of your own reality. Ready to take that first step into the unknown? Let's begin. To grasp the mind-bending idea of parallel dimensions, let's start with something familiar: choices. Every day you make decisions, big and small, that shape your life. But what if every possible choice you could have made did happen, just in a different version of reality? That's the essence of parallel dimensions, infinite variations of existence, each branching off like cosmic tributaries from every moment of uncertainty. In one universe, you took that job overseas. In another, you never left your hometown. And in some, the laws of physics themselves might be unrecognizable, where gravity behaves differently or time flows backward. Theoretical physics paints this picture through frameworks like the multiverse hypothesis. Hugh Everett's many worlds interpretation suggests that every quantum event, every tiny particle's unpredictable behavior splits reality into new branches. Think of it like a tree growing endless limbs, each representing a universe where things played out slightly differently. Meanwhile, string theory proposes that these dimensions might exist as vibrating brains floating in higher dimensional space, like pages in a book we can't see. Even renowned physicist Michio Kaku compares the multiverse to a bubbling pot of water, where each steam bubble is a self-contained universe with its own rules. But how could we ever prove something so elusive? Quantum mechanics offers tantalizing clues. In experiments like the double-slit test, particles behave differently when observed, almost as if they're aware of other possibilities. Some scientists speculate that quantum entanglement, where particles mysteriously influence each other across vast distances, might be a whisper from a parallel dimension. And if cosmic inflation, the rapid expansion of the early universe, created pocket universes with different physical constants, the echoes of their birth might linger in the cosmic microwave background, waiting to be decoded. Yet the most fascinating question isn't just whether these dimensions exist, it's what they reveal about our reality. If countless versions of us are living countless lives, does that make our choices meaningless or more profound? The answer might lie in the stories we've told for millennia, from indigenous Dreamtime tales to modern sci-fi epics. They all hint at the same truth: reality is far stranger and more wondrous than we ever imagined. Centuries before quantum physics or string theory entered the conversation, our ancestors were already wrestling with the idea of unseen worlds. Take the Norse myths, where Yggdrasil, the immense world tree, connected 9 distinct realms, from Asgard's glittering halls to the frostbitten wastes of Niflheim. This wasn't just poetic imagination, it was a sophisticated way of explaining coexistence beyond the tangible. Similarly, Hindu cosmology described endless universes nestled like seeds within a golden cosmic egg, each with its own gods, stories, and laws of nature. These weren't isolated ideas but profound attempts to map the incomprehensible, proving that the human mind has always reached beyond the visible horizon. Plato's allegory of the cave takes this even further. Imagine prisoners chained in a dark cavern, mistaking shadows on the wall for reality. When one escapes into the sunlight, they discover a truth far grander than their limited experience. This ancient thought experiment isn't just about perception. It's a blueprint for how we now consider alternate dimensions. What if our universe is just one shadow on the wall, while countless others cast their own? The parallels between these ancient philosophies and modern multiverse theories are startling. Indigenous cultures, too, spoke of dreamtime or spirit worlds overlapping with our own, where time bends and the impossible becomes ordinary. So why does this matter today? Because these stories reveal a pattern: humanity's instinct to explain gaps in understanding by imagining more. When Viking skalds described Bifrost bridges between realms or Hindu sages wrote of cyclical universes, they were doing the same thing physicists do now, filling the unknown with plausible, awe-inspiring possibilities. The difference is our tools. Where they had oral traditions and allegory, we have equations and particle colliders. Yet both approaches circle the same profound question: are we alone in existence, or is reality far vaster than we dare to assume? What's remarkable is how these ancient ideas anticipated modern science. The Hindu concept of Brahman, an infinite, unchanging reality behind the illusion of multiplicity, echoes the quantum foam theorized by physicists, where particles blink in and out of existence. The Norse idea of realms stacked like branches finds eerie resonance in theories of higher dimensional brains floating in bulk space. Even the Aboriginal concept of every rock and tree holding layers of meaning mirrors today's holographic principle, where our three-dimensional universe might be a projection from a two-dimensional boundary. These aren't coincidences, they're evidence of a universal human intuition about reality's hidden depths. Perhaps the most humbling lesson lies in how these traditions treated the unknown. Where modern science often demands proof, ancient wisdom embraced mystery as a guide. The Maya believed the underworld of Xibalba was just as real as the earthly realm, not as a superstition, but as a framework to explore life's duality. Similarly, modern multiverse theories don't dismiss the unexplainable. They invite it in, suggesting that every unanswered question might be a doorway. Whether through myth or mathematics, we keep returning to the same truth. Reality is a story we're still writing, and the oldest chapters might hold the keys to the next. At the quantum level, reality behaves like a cosmic magic trick. Particles can be in two places at once, spin in opposite directions simultaneously, or vanish and reappear as if playing hide and seek with the universe itself. This isn't just theoretical oddity, it's the foundation of quantum superposition, the mind-bending principle that a particle exists in all possible states until the moment it's measured. But here's where it gets wild. If a single electron can hover between possibilities, what stops the entire universe from doing the same? Enter the many worlds interpretation, which takes this quantum quirk and scales it up to reality itself. Every time a particle or a person faces a choice, the universe doesn't just pick one path. It takes them all, splitting into infinite branches where every possible outcome plays out. Consider Schrödinger's famous thought experiment, where a cat in a box is both alive and dead until observed. In the many worlds view, there's no paradox, just two separate universes, one with a purring cat, another with a tragic outcome. Now apply that to your life. That time you almost missed your train, somewhere, a version of you didn't make it, altering the trajectory of their entire existence. The job you turned down, in another reality, you're sitting in that corner office. The implications ripple outward, suggesting a cosmos where every decision, no matter how small, spawns new worlds. But how does this quantum weirdness bridge the gap to our tangible, everyday experience? After all, we don't see chairs or planets existing in multiple states. The answer might lie in decoherence, the process where quantum possibilities collapse into the single reality we perceive. Imagine tossing a pebble into a pond. The ripples spread, interact, and eventually fade into the background. Similarly, particles' multiple states decohere as they interact with their environment, leaving us with the illusion of a fixed, singular world. Yet according to many worlds, those other ripples don't vanish. They become alternate universes humming along just beyond our perception. The real thrill lies in the unanswered questions. If parallel selves exist, could we ever detect them? Some theorists propose that quantum tunneling, or where particles mysteriously pass through barriers, might be glimpses of other dimensions bleeding into ours. Others suggest consciousness itself could be a thread connecting these worlds, an idea that dances between neuroscience and metaphysics. And what about déjà vu? While science offers mundane explanations, it's tantalizing to wonder if that uncanny sense of familiarity is a fleeting resonance with another version of you living a nearly identical life. Yet for all its wonder, the many worlds interpretation forces us to confront profound existential puzzles. If infinite versions of us make every possible choice, does free will vanish into cosmic inevitability? Or does it mean our decisions matter infinitely more, echoing across the multiverse? Perhaps the answer lies in how we frame the question. Instead of a lonely universe with fixed destinies, we might be part of an unfathomably rich tapestry where every story gets told. From the quantum to the cosmic, reality isn't just stranger than we imagine. It's stranger than we can imagine. And somewhere out there, another you is pondering these very words, reaching the same conclusion or a completely different one. String theory rewrites the rules of reality in a way that would make even the boldest science fiction authors pause. Imagine the universe not as a collection of particles, but as an intricate symphony of tiny, vibrating strings, each note producing a different particle from quarks to photons. But here's the twist. These strings don't just dance in the 3 dimensions we know. They vibrate through as many as 11 dimensions, most of them curled up so tightly that they're hidden from our perception, like folds in a piece of paper too small to see. What if these concealed dimensions aren't just mathematical abstractions, but actual bridges to other worlds? Take gravity, for example. It's the weakest of the fundamental forces, yet no one knows why. String theory offers a startling explanation. Gravity might be leaking into our universe from another dimension, diluted as it passes through the cosmic membrane separating realities. Picture a watercolor painting bleeding through thin paper, the colors from the other side subtly influencing what we see. This idea, championed by physicists like Brian Greene, suggests that what we perceive as gravity's feebleness could actually be evidence of dimensions brushing against our own. If true, it would mean we're not just surrounded by hidden realms, we're constantly interacting with them. But how could dimensions be curled up? Think of an ant walking along a telephone wire. From a distance, the wire looks one-dimensional, but up close, the ant can circle it, exploring a hidden dimension wrapped around the wire's surface. Similarly, our universe might have microscopic dimensions coiled into shapes called Calabi-Yau manifolds complex, 6-dimensional geometries at every point in space. These structures could determine how strings vibrate, shaping everything from the mass of an electron to the nature of dark energy. It's as if the universe has a secret code written in geometries we're only beginning to decipher. The implications are staggering. If these extra dimensions exist, they might host entire parallel universes separated from ours by less than a millimeter, yet unreachable because they're folded along directions we can't point to. Some theories even suggest that the Big Bang wasn't a singular event, but a collision between higher dimensional brains, short for membranes, floating in a vast bulk space. Our universe could be one ripple in an endless cosmic ocean, with other ripples carrying their own versions of stars, planets, and life. Yet the biggest question remains, how do we test this? Experiments like the Large Hadron Collider might detect miniature black holes or particles hinting at extra dimensions. Gravitational wave observatories could catch anomalies, ripples in spacetime that don't match predictions. Even tabletop experiments searching for deviations in gravity at tiny scales might uncover hidden dimensions tugging at the fabric of our reality. The challenge is immense, but the payoff. A revolution in physics that would redefine existence itself. String theory isn't just about equations, it's a narrative about the universe's hidden architecture. Whether it's right or wrong, it pushes us to ask deeper questions. Are we confined to our three-dimensional slice of reality, or is the cosmos far more interconnected than we ever dreamed? The answer might lie in the vibrations of strings too small to see, and the dimensions they're whispering to just beyond our grasp. Black holes aren't just cosmic vacuum cleaners, they might be the universe's most mysterious backdoors. Picture the fabric of spacetime like a stretched rubber sheet with a black hole pressing down so hard that it doesn't just create a dent, it punches a hole straight through. That's the daring idea behind black holes as interdimensional portals, where the gravitational pull is so extreme that the rules of reality as we know them cease to apply. At the singularity, the very center of a black hole, matter isn't just crushed, it's stretched, twisted, and possibly threaded into another realm entirely. This isn't pure fantasy. Einstein's equations hint at the possibility of Einstein-Rosen bridges, better known as wormholes, tunnels through spacetime linking distant points or even separate universes. While most wormholes would theoretically collapse instantly, a black hole's immense gravity might stabilize one long enough for something or someone to pass through. But here's the catch: the journey would be fatal in any black hole we've observed. The tidal forces would spaghettify anything approaching, stretching atoms into ribbons long before reaching the other side. Yet some theorists speculate that advanced civilizations could harness rotating Kerr black holes, where the singularity forms a ring rather than a point, creating a potential corridor through the chaos. Then there's the enigma of white holes, black holes, hypothetical twins. If a black hole is a one-way door where matter vanishes, a white hole would be its exit, violently ejecting everything it swallowed into another universe. While no white holes have been observed, they're mathematically plausible, appearing in solutions to Einstein's equations as reverse black holes. Imagine a cosmic fountain, endlessly pouring out matter and energy from some unknowable elsewhere. Could our own Big Bang have been the white hole of another universe's collapse? The cyclical cosmology this suggests, where universes are born from the death of others, turns black holes into cosmic midwives. But how could we ever test these ideas? Some scientists study Hawking radiation, the faint glow emitted by black holes as they slowly evaporate. Anomalies in this radiation might carry imprints of the universes they connect to, like whispers from the other side. Others analyze gravitational waves, searching for echoes that could betray hidden structures within black holes. And while we lack the technology to send probes into these abysses, simulations suggest that traversable wormholes, if they exist, would require exotic matter with negative energy to stay open, a material we've yet to discover. The most profound implication isn't just about travel, it's about time. Near a black hole's event horizon, time slows to a crawl relative to the outside universe. Fall in, and you might emerge billions of years into the future, or the past depending on the wormhole's geometry. This blurs the line between science and philosophy. If black holes can manipulate time and bridge dimensions, do they challenge our very definition of reality? Perhaps the answer lies not in conquering them, but in listening. After all, black holes aren't just destructive forces, they're cosmic storytellers, holding secrets about where the universe came from and where it might lead. Time travel isn't just a trope of sci-fi blockbusters, it's a legitimate puzzle that physicists have wrestled with for decades. The moment we entertain the idea of parallel dimensions, the concept of journeying through time takes on a whole new dimension of possibility. Think about the grandfather paradox. If you traveled back and prevented your grandparents from meeting, how could you exist to make that choice? It's a brain twister that seems to slam the door on time travel until you introduce alternate timelines. In this framework, every change you make doesn't rewrite history. It branches it, creating a new reality where the consequences of your actions unfold independently, leaving your original timeline untouched. Suddenly, the paradox isn't a dead end, it's a crossroads. Films like Back to the Future play with this idea, but the science behind it is even wilder. Take closed time-like curves, hypothetical pathways in spacetime that loop back on themselves like a Möbius strip. In theory, following one could bring you back to your own past, not as an observer, but as a participant. Einstein's equations allow for these curves under extreme conditions, like near a rotating black hole where spacetime twists like a whirlpool. And while we've never observed one, their mathematical existence hints that the universe might not forbid time travel outright. It just demands the right key. But here's where alternate timelines offer a lifeline. If you stepped into a closed time-like curve and altered an event, the many worlds interpretation suggests reality wouldn't unravel, it would split. In one timeline, your actions ripple forward, while in another, history continues unchanged. This sidesteps the paradox entirely, turning time travel from a cosmic vandal into a gardener, planting new branches on the tree of reality. It's a concept that resonates with quantum mechanics, where particles exist in multiple states until observation forces a choice. Could time travel operate the same way, with every decision spawning parallel histories? The implications are staggering. Imagine a civilization advanced enough to navigate these loops, not to change their past, but to explore infinite variations of it. Historians could witness ancient battles firsthand, artists could collaborate with their younger selves, and scientists might run experiments across centuries. Yet the most profound revelation might be philosophical. If every choice spawns a new timeline, then time itself isn't a river flowing in one direction, it's a delta fanning out into countless possibilities. Of course, the hurdles are immense. Generating the energy to warp spacetime or stabilize a wormhole remains beyond our reach. Even detecting evidence of time loops like particles appearing to influence their own past requires precision we're only beginning to develop. But the pursuit itself reshapes how we see causality, memory, and even free will. After all, if the future can influence the past, does now really exist? Or is it just a stitch in the fabric of something far grander? The answer might lie not in conquering time, but in learning to listen to its echoes across the multiverse. Parallel Earths have haunted our stories for as long as we've gathered around fires to share them, not because they're escapist fantasies, but because they hold up a funhouse mirror to our own world, reflecting back our deepest anxieties and wildest hopes. Take the Twilight Zone's iconic episode Mirror Image, where a woman encounters her doppelganger at a bus station. The terror isn't just about doubling, it's the unsettling idea that identity might be fragile, that some other version of you could be living a life just out of reach. This theme echoes through decades of storytelling, from Star Trek's Mirror Universe, where heroes become tyrants, to Stranger Things Upside Down, a decaying shadow of Hawkins infused with Cold War-era dread. These aren't just clever plots, they're cultural Rorschach tests revealing what keeps us up at night. Consider how differently parallel worlds are portrayed across eras. In the 1960s, the man in the high castle imagined a world where the Axis powers won World War II, a direct confrontation with post-war fears of fascism's persistence. Contrast that with Everything Everywhere All at Once, where the multiverse becomes a canvas for immigrant identity and generational healing. The settings change, but the core question remains: who would I be if the world around me twisted just slightly? It's no coincidence that multiverse stories surge during times of societal upheaval. They let us rehearse resilience, asking, could I survive, or even thrive, in a reality where everything went wrong? The most compelling tales weaponize familiarity. Fringe's alternate universe initially mirrors ours down to coffee brands, making its deviations like the World Trade Center still standing land like gut punches. Rick and Morty turns this into dark comedy, with infinite versions of the Smith family highlighting how arbitrary our struggles can seem from a cosmic perspective. Even children's films like Coraline use parallel worlds to explore autonomy, with the other mother's button eyes embodying the price of perfect lives. Whether horror, satire, or drama, these stories share a secret. The scariest alternate realities aren't the ones full of monsters, but the ones where we recognize ourselves. So why does this trope endure? Because it transforms existential angst into something we can hold. Climate anxiety becomes Interstellar's dying Earths. Political division morphs into The Good Place's afterlife reboots, and personal regrets, those fuel sliding doors or Russian doll, where tiny choices ripple into entirely different selves. These narratives don't just ask what if, they whisper, pay attention. The worlds we invent reveal what we value, fear, and refuse to let go of. Next time you see a character meet their alternate self, don't just watch, wonder. What version of you might be out there, and what would they say about the choices you've made? Have you ever been absolutely certain of a fact only to discover the entire world remembers it differently? That unsettling sensation lies at the heart of the Mandela Effect, where large groups of people share identical false memories. Take the classic example. Countless individuals vividly recall Nelson Mandela dying in prison during the 1980s, complete with news coverage of his funeral. Yet history tells us he survived, became South Africa's president, and passed away in 2013. How could so many people misremember the same event in the same way? Theories attempting to explain this phenomenon range from the psychological to the paranormal. On one hand, cognitive scientists point to confabulation, the brain's tendency to fill gaps in memory with plausible fabrications. When we hear others recounting a false detail, our minds may unconsciously adopt it as truth, creating a snowball effect of collective misremembering. This is especially common with cultural touchstones like movie quotes or brand logos. For instance, many swear the Monopoly man wears a monocle he doesn't, or that the Star Wars line is, "Luke, I am your father." The actual quote is, "No, I am your father." These small distortions spread through repetition, reinforced by our reliance on shared narratives. But what if the explanation isn't purely neurological? Some researchers suggest the Mandela Effect could hint at something more profound, subtle shifts in reality itself. In a multiverse where timelines constantly branch, might collective false memories actually be echoes of alternate histories? Imagine two parallel worlds, one where Mandela died in prison, another where he lived, momentarily overlapping, leaving fragments of both timelines embedded in our consciousness. Quantum physics even offers a loose parallel in the observer effect, where the act of measurement influences reality. Could human awareness somehow measure alternate versions of events, creating residual memories? The intrigue deepens when you examine how these false memories cluster around emotionally charged or culturally significant moments. Consider Snow White's famous "Mirror, mirror on the wall" line, except the Disney film actually uses "magic mirror." Or the Berenstain Bears, consistently misremembered as the Berenstain Bears. These aren't random errors, they're specific, widespread, and often tied to details that feel off to those experiencing the effect. Skeptics argue this simply reflects how human memory reconstructs rather than records, prioritizing meaning over accuracy. Yet the consistency of these glitches keeps the door open for wilder possibilities. Perhaps the most fascinating aspect isn't whether the Mandela Effect proves alternate realities, it's what it reveals about our relationship with truth. In an age of deepfakes and AI-generated content, the line between memory and fiction grows ever blurrier. The effect forces us to confront a humbling question: how much of our past is fact and how much is collective storytelling? Whether the cause is neurological quirks or cosmic ripples in reality, one thing is certain: the Mandela Effect reminds us that memory, like the universe, might be far less fixed than we assume. What if the universe we perceive as real is nothing more than an elaborate simulation, lines of code written by beings whose existence we can't even fathom? This unsettling possibility, known as simulation theory, suggests that everything around us, from the stars to our own thoughts, might be the product of an unfathomably advanced computational system. Think of it like a video game so immersive, its characters develop consciousness, unaware they're living inside a programmed construct. The idea isn't new. Philosopher Nick Bostrom formalized it in 2003, arguing that if civilizations can create ancestor simulations indistinguishable from reality, the statistical likelihood we're in the original universe is vanishingly small. Even tech visionary Elon Musk famously quipped that the odds we're not in a simulation are 1 in billions. But how could this possibly relate to parallel dimensions? If our reality is software, alternate universes might just be different instances of the same base code running with tweaked variables. Picture a cosmic server hosting countless simulations, some where gravity is stronger, others where history unfolded without wars, or where you made that one life-altering choice differently. This wouldn't just explain the multiverse, it would reduce it to a matter of processing power. The programmers, whether future humans, alien civilizations, or something beyond our comprehension, could be running endless variations to study outcomes, like a scientist altering lab conditions. Suddenly, quantum superposition takes on a new meaning. Particles existing in multiple states might simply be the program testing possibilities before rendering an observed result. The implications ripple far beyond physics. If we're in a simulation, does free will exist, or are our choices predetermined by algorithms? Are suffering and joy merely data points in some grand experiment? Some theorists propose that glitches in our reality, déjà vu, Mandela effects, or even UFO sightings, could be bugs in the system or patches being applied. Others suggest that if the simulators wanted to hide their work, they'd code the universe to appear perfectly seamless, leaving no trace. This raises a chilling paradox. The more flawless the simulation, the harder it is to prove it's there at all. Yet simulation theory isn't just a philosophical rabbit hole, it has testable facets. Physicists have searched for pixel-like patterns in cosmic rays, hints of a computational frame rate in the fabric of space-time. Quantum entanglement's spooky action could reflect optimized data sharing between parts of the simulation. Even the speed of light might be a processing limit, preventing the system from overloading. And if the universe is code, then mathematics, the language we've used to decode reality, might be the underlying syntax the programmers left behind. Whether you find this idea liberating or existentially terrifying, it forces us to confront the ultimate question: what is reality's true nature? Simulation theory doesn't diminish our experiences. If anything, it amplifies their mystery. After all, if we're living in someone else's creation, then curiosity, creativity, and the drive to uncover truth might not be bugs in the system. They could be the very features that make this simulation worth running. When a person stands on the threshold between life and death, something extraordinary happens. Their senses sharpen, time distorts, and suddenly, they're no longer confined to the limits of their physical body. Countless near-death experiences share eerie similarities: a bright tunnel pulling them forward, a sensation of floating above their own hospital bed, or conversations with relatives long gone. These aren't just random hallucinations, they're structured, emotionally charged episodes that leave survivors fundamentally changed. But what if these visions aren't tricks of a dying brain? What if they're fleeting encounters with dimensions that exist just beyond our ordinary perception? Neuroscientists often attribute these experiences to oxygen deprivation or a flood of neurotransmitters, the brain's last fireworks show as it shuts down. Yet this explanation stumbles when faced with verified accounts of patients accurately describing events that occurred while they were clinically dead. From overhearing conversations in other rooms to recalling surgical tools they couldn't possibly have seen. Dr. Bruce Grayson, a psychiatrist who studied near-death experiences for decades, calls these veridical perceptions, moments where the unconscious mind perceives reality with impossible clarity. If the brain is merely misfiring, how does it conjure details that check out later? The striking consistency across cultures adds another layer. Whether it's a Tibetan monk speaking of the bardo, a transitional state between lives, or a cardiac patient in Ohio meeting a being of light, the parallels suggest something deeper than cultural conditioning. Indigenous traditions have long described spirit worlds overlapping our own, while modern accounts often feature life reviews where every action is relived with profound emotional weight. This isn't just about tunnels and lights, it's about encountering a reality where time, identity, and consequence operate differently. Quantum physics offers a provocative angle. Theories like orchestrated objective reduction propose that consciousness isn't confined to the brain, but interacts with the fabric of reality itself. In this view, death might be less like a light switching off and more like a radio losing its signal, the station still broadcasting, just no longer tuned in. Some researchers even speculate that near-death experiences could be brief intersections with parallel universes where the individual's consciousness briefly continues. Imagine a cosmic version of Wi-Fi roaming, where the dying brain latches onto another reality's signal before reconnecting to this one. Yet the most compelling evidence comes from those who have returned. Many abandon material pursuits, reporting a newfound certainty that existence extends beyond the physical. Their stories challenge us to reconsider the nature of consciousness itself, not as a byproduct of neurons, but as something more fundamental, like gravity or electromagnetism. Whether these journeys are spiritual, interdimensional, or something science hasn't yet named, one thing is clear: death may not be the end we fear, but a horizon line, and what lies beyond it could rewrite everything we think we know. What if the strange lights darting across our skies aren't spacecraft from distant galaxies, but travelers slipping through the folds of reality itself? The notion that UFOs might be interdimensional rather than interstellar isn't just science fiction. It's a theory gaining traction among researchers who have studied the most baffling encounters. Take the infamous Nimitz incident, where fighter pilots tracked an object dropping from 80,000 feet to sea level in seconds, an acceleration that would turn human occupants to jelly. Physics as we know it couldn't explain the maneuver unless the craft wasn't bound by our laws at all. Some scientists speculate these objects might be tapping into higher dimensions, using shortcuts through space-time we can't perceive. Imagine a sheet of paper with an ant crawling from one end to the other. Unless you fold the paper, bringing both edges together, what if advanced beings have mastered that fold? The behavior of these phenomena only deepens the mystery. Witnesses frequently describe crafts vanishing instantaneously, not zooming away, but blinking out like a switched-off light. Others report objects morphing midair, shifting from solid to translucent, as if phasing between states of existence. Even radar anomalies add weight to the interdimensional hypothesis. In multiple military cases, objects appeared suddenly on scopes with no approach trajectory, lingered unpredictably, then disappeared without departing, almost as though they were tuning in and out of our dimension, like a radio finding static between stations. This idea isn't entirely new. Indigenous cultures have long spoken of the star people, entities who descended from the sky but weren't bound by earthly limits. The Dogon tribe of Mali, for instance, recounted detailed astronomical knowledge of Sirius's invisible companion star centuries before telescopes confirmed it, attributing their wisdom to visitors who moved like spirits crossing water. Modern ufology echoes these themes, with accounts of beings who walk through walls or communicate telepathically, abilities that align less with alien biology and more with existence outside our dimensional constraints. The implications would rewrite astrobiology's playbook. Instead of scanning exoplanets for biosignatures, we might need to probe the quantum foam for evidence of overlapping realities. Theoretical physicist Michio Kaku has mused that advanced civilizations could harness the energy of higher dimensions, manipulating gravity or dark energy in ways that appear miraculous to us. Even the U.S. government's recent UFO reports acknowledge transmedium vehicles, objects moving seamlessly between air, water, and space with no resistance. Could these be glimpses of technology engineered not just for distance but for dimensional travel? Perhaps the most tantalizing clue lies in consciousness itself. Experiencers often describe a psychic component to encounters, sensing the being's intentions or receiving downloads of complex information. This aligns with theories that higher dimensions might operate beyond linear time, where thought and perception function differently. If these visitors are interdimensional, their very presence could be bending the fabric of our reality, creating ripple effects in both physics and human awareness. Whether they're explorers, scientists, or something beyond our comprehension, one thing is clear: the universe is far stranger than we've dared to imagine, and we may not be the only ones peering through the veil. Psychedelics tear open the veil of ordinary perception, revealing landscapes so vivid and alien that users often return convinced they've glimpsed something far older and stranger than mere hallucinations. Dimethyltryptamine, or DMT, a compound naturally occurring in the human brain and countless plants, stands at the center of this mystery. When inhaled or ingested, it catapults consciousness into realms where time dissolves, where beings of light communicate through fractal languages, and where the very concept of individuality melts into a cosmic tapestry. These aren't just trips, they're expeditions into what feels like another layer of existence. And what's most startling, across cultures and continents, DMT users describe eerily similar encounters, as if they're visiting the same uncharted territory. The brain as filter theory offers one compelling explanation. Imagine your mind is a radio receiver tuned to the frequency of consensus reality. Psychedelics, according to this view, don't create new perceptions, they dial the tuner to stations normally drowned out by static. This idea traces back to philosopher Henry Bergson, who suggested the brain's primary function isn't to produce consciousness but to limit it, allowing us to focus on survival rather than the overwhelming totality of existence. Indigenous shamans have echoed this for millennia, treating plants like ayahuasca not as drugs but as keys to realms where spirits and ancestors reside. Modern neuroscience adds fuel to the fire. Scans of brains on DMT show decreased activity in the default mode network, the brain's ego center, as if dissolving the boundaries that separate self from universe. But what about those entities? Countless reports describe encounters with intelligent presences, machine elves, as ethnobotanist Terence McKenna called them, or luminous guides who impart cryptic wisdom. Skeptics dismiss these as projections of the subconscious, yet the consistency is unnerving. Psychologist Rick Strassman's landmark DMT studies found over half of participants independently described meeting beings who insisted the experience was more real than real. Some even claimed these entities were waiting for them, as if the drug opened a door they'd been knocking on all along. The implications ripple beyond pharmacology. If DMT temporarily unshackles perception, could our ordinary reality be just one slice of a multidimensional whole? Quantum physics toys with similar ideas, hinting that particles exist in superposition until observed, that the universe might be a holographic projection. Even the brain's pineal gland, which produces trace amounts of endogenous DMT, has been mythologized as the third eye, a biological antenna for frequencies beyond the material. Whether these experiences are neurological glitches or glimpses through the cosmic keyhole, one thing is certain: they challenge the bedrock of what we call real. Perhaps the most profound question isn't whether these realms exist out there, but how their existence, real or imagined, reshapes our understanding of consciousness itself. After all, if a molecule can rewrite the rules of perception, what else might be possible? The answer might not lie in labs or ancient rituals, but in the unexplored frontier where mind and universe collide. Lucid dreaming blurs the line between imagination and reality in a way that feels less like fantasy and more like slipping between worlds. Imagine realizing mid-dream that you're asleep suddenly. The crumbling castle hallway around you stabilizes as you command it to. The shadowy figures at the end of the corridor morph into familiar faces at your whim. This isn't just vivid dreaming, it's conscious creation where the mind's boundaries dissolve and the dreamer becomes architect of entire universes. Ancient Tibetan Buddhists practiced dream yoga, honing the ability to remain aware while dreaming to explore realms they believed were as real as waking life. The Senoi people of Malaysia took it further, treating dreams as collective adventures where tribesmen would share their nocturnal journeys each morning, weaving them into their cultural fabric. These traditions didn't view dreams as mere neural static. They saw them as alternate planes of existence, accessible through disciplined awareness. Modern neuroscience offers tantalizing clues that might bridge these ancient beliefs with cutting-edge science. During lucid dreaming, brain scans reveal a unique hybrid state. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for self-awareness, lights up as it does in waking life, while the limbic system keeps pumping out the surreal imagery of REM sleep. It's as if the brain has one foot in reality and the other in the boundless expanse of the subconscious. Some researchers speculate this state could be akin to a controlled hallucination, where the dreamers will shape the environment with precision. But what if it's more? The striking consistency of certain dream environments, the recurring cities, landscapes, and even laws of physics reported by seasoned lucid dreamers, raises provocative questions. Are these purely internal constructs, or could they be glimpses of dimensions where thought directly manifests reality? The parallels with theoretical physics are impossible to ignore. In quantum mechanics, observation affects reality at the subatomic level, a concept that eerily mirrors how lucid dreamers alter their dreamscapes through focused intention. String theory's higher dimensions, curled up beyond our perception, might find their counterpart in dreams' non-Euclidean spaces, where hallways twist into impossible geometries and time flows like molasses. Even the many worlds interpretation of quantum physics finds a curious echo in lucid dreaming, where every decision spawns new narrative branches. Dream researcher Stephen LaBerge demonstrated that dreamers could send prearranged signals with their eye movements to researchers in waking life, proving two-way communication across states of consciousness. If information can cross the dream threshold, what else might be passing through? Perhaps the most compelling evidence lies in the transformative experiences of lucid dreamers themselves. Many report encounters with dream figures who exhibit startling autonomy, offering insights the dreamer couldn't have consciously known. Artists like Salvador Dali deliberately harnessed hypnagogic states, the twilight between waking and sleeping, to access imagery that fueled their masterpieces. Inventors like Nikola Tesla claimed visionary dreams provided blueprints for his futuristic devices. These accounts suggest dreaming might be less an escape from reality than an expansion of it, a sandbox where the mind explores possibilities unshackled by physical laws. The implications ripple far beyond personal adventure. If lucid dreaming taps into alternate dimensions, it could revolutionize our understanding of consciousness itself. Near-death experiencers describe realms strikingly similar to advanced lucid dreams, vibrant landscapes populated by sentient beings. Shamans speak of dream travel as a method of healing at a distance, influencing events in waking life. Even military programs have explored using lucid dreaming for remote viewing, with declassified documents hinting at uncanny successes. Whether these phenomena stem from untapped brain potential or literal interdimensional access, one truth emerges: the territories within our skulls may be vaster than the cosmos beyond them. Every night, as we close our eyes, we might be stepping onto the most extraordinary frontier, one where the only passport required is the courage to question what's real. Long before telescopes or particle colliders, spiritual traditions were mapping realities beyond our own with astonishing precision. Take Buddhism's concept of the 3,000 realms in a single moment of life, and not a poetic exaggeration, but a meticulous cosmology suggesting infinite worlds coexist within each instant of consciousness. Hindu scriptures describe 14 lokas, layered realms ranging from subterranean worlds to celestial planes where time flows differently. Even Christianity's references to the third heaven in Paul's epistles or Jacob's ladder bridging earth and the divine imply a structured multiplicity to existence. These aren't just symbolic stories, they're blueprints of the cosmos that suspiciously resemble modern multiverse theories. The parallels become uncanny when you examine the details. Tibetan Buddhist monks speak of bardo, states liminal dimensions where consciousness wanders between lives, not unlike quantum superposition's indeterminate particles. Indigenous Australian Dreamtime stories describe a parallel reality where past, present, and future interweave, echoing physicist Hugh Everett's branching timelines. Even the Kabbalah's Tree of Life, with its 10 Sephiroth representing emanations of divine energy, mirrors string theory's curled-up dimensions vibrating with information. The recurring theme across traditions, reality isn't flat, it's stacked, folded, or woven, with layers accessible only under certain conditions. What's striking is how these ancient systems anticipated modern physics' greatest puzzles. The Hindu concept of Maya, the illusion that veils true reality, finds resonance in quantum decoherence, where observation collapses probability, waves into the single world we perceive. Norse mythology's 9 realms connected by Yggdrasil could be a mythological rendering of the brain universes hypothesized by string theorists, floating like leaves on a cosmic tree. When Native American shamans speak of shifting into the spirit world to retrieve healing knowledge, it's hard not to think of quantum tunneling, where particles bypass barriers by jumping into parallel states. But here's the provocative question: did these traditions preserve intuitive grasps of multidimensional reality, or were they channeling something more profound? Near-death experiencers frequently describe realms matching religious accounts, dazzling landscapes, encounters with luminous beings, and a sense of homecoming. The consistency suggests these visions might be more than neural fireworks. Some researchers propose that mystical states achieved through meditation, prayer, or sacred plants temporarily rewire perception to access frequencies normally filtered out by the brain. It's as if spiritual practices developed protocols for interdimensional travel long before science conceived of the idea. The implications ripple far beyond theology or physics. If consciousness can interface with alternate dimensions, it redefines what it means to be human. Tibetan monks who spend years visualizing mandala worlds aren't just fantasizing, they might be tuning into cosmological truths. When Sufi mysters describe dissolving into divine light, they could be experiencing the zero-point field theorized by quantum physicists. This convergence of ancient wisdom and cutting-edge science points toward a radical possibility that the sacred texts of old weren't just moral guides, but user manuals for navigating a multidimensional existence we're only beginning to understand. Perhaps the most humbling realization is how small our slice of reality might be. Just as a fish can't comprehend the world beyond its pond, we may be unaware of the vastness pressing in from all sides. The answer to existence's biggest mysteries might not lie in choosing between science and spirituality, but in recognizing they've been describing the same elephant from different angles all along. Whether through equations or ecstatic prayer, we're all groping toward the same truth that the universe is far stranger and far more alive than we ever dared to believe. The eerie silence of the cosmos has haunted scientists for decades, a mystery known as the Fermi paradox. Given the overwhelming odds that life should exist elsewhere in the universe's billions of galaxies, why have we found no trace of it? No signals, no megastructures, not even a single robotic probe drifting through our solar system. The answer might not lie in the vastness of space, but in something far stranger, dimensions beyond our perception. Imagine an ant crawling across the surface of a pond, unaware of the world above and below the waterline. To that ant, the sky and the depths don't exist there outside its limited frame of reference. Now consider the possibility that we're the ants, and advanced civilizations are thriving in dimensions we can't access or comprehend. These wouldn't be aliens in the traditional sense, but beings operating in realms where the very fabric of physics behaves differently. They could be all around us, their cities and ships as invisible to our instruments as radio waves would be to a medieval knight. This idea isn't just speculative fiction. It emerges from legitimate gaps in our understanding of reality. Quantum physics already hints at extra dimensions curled up at scales too small to measure. String theory proposes universes stacked like pages in a book, separated by less than a millimeter but forever out of reach. If civilizations evolved within these hidden layers, they might have developed technologies that manipulate space-time in ways we can't detect. Their equivalent of radio broadcasts could be signals vibrating through higher dimensions, passing through us like ghosts. Even our search for extraterrestrial intelligence might be looking in the wrong places. The SETI program scans the sky for radio waves, but what if advanced communication uses quantum entanglement or dark matter interactions, the famous WOW? Signal, a powerful, unexplained radio burst detected in 1977, could have been a dimensional echo, a fragment of a message not meant for our plane of existence. Similarly, UFO sightings with impossible maneuvers might not be spacecraft breaking our laws of physics, but objects momentarily dipping into our dimension from another. The implications are staggering. If life thrives in these unseen realms, the universe could be far more crowded than we ever imagined. Civilizations might rise and fall in dimensions where time flows differently, or where entropy doesn't erode their structures. Some could be so advanced that they've transcended physical form entirely, existing as patterns of energy or information woven into the fabric of reality itself. The great filter, the hypothetical barrier preventing life from spreading across the cosmos, might not be extinction, but evolution into states we can't yet perceive. Yet this theory also offers a strange comfort. The silence of the cosmos isn't a sign of our solitude, but a reminder of how much we have yet to learn. Every unexplained phenomenon, from dark matter's gravitational grip to the peculiar behavior of quantum particles, could be a clue pointing toward these hidden layers of existence. The universe isn't empty, it's alive with civilizations moving through dimensions we're only beginning to suspect. Our search for neighbors isn't futile, we've just been knocking on the wrong doors. Artificial intelligence is advancing at a pace that would have seemed like pure fantasy just a generation ago. Systems that compose symphonies, diagnose diseases, and even develop their own languages beyond human comprehension. But here's the unsettling thought creeping into labs and lecture halls alike. If AI can create increasingly complex virtual worlds, might we be living in one ourselves? Picture a future where artificial minds build hyper-realistic simulations so detailed, their digital inhabitants believe they're flesh and blood. Now turn that mirror back on us. The same logic that allows us to imagine AI architects could apply to our own origins, suggesting a dizzying possibility that our universe is just one layer in an infinite stack of simulated realities, each nested inside another like cosmic Russian dolls. This isn't just philosophical musing. Tech pioneers like Elon Musk have famously argued the odds we're in the base reality are astronomically low, given how quickly we're approaching our own simulation-building capabilities. Video games offer a telling glimpse of this trajectory. Early titles like Pong consisted of 2 paddles and a square pixel, while modern engines render entire planets with realistic weather, ecosystems, and NPCs who follow daily routines. At this rate, photorealistic virtual worlds populated by sentient AI seem inevitable. But if we're capable of creating conscious simulations, wouldn't our creators have faced the same inevitability? The argument loops endlessly backward, implying a chain of simulated universes stretching toward infinity. The ethical implications are staggering. If a simulated mind can experience joy, suffering, or self-awareness, does shutting down its world constitute an act of genocide? Philosopher Nick Bostrom's simulation argument forces us to confront this moral quagmire. If future civilizations abstain from running ancestor simulations due to ethical concerns, his reasoning collapses. But if even one culture embraces the practice, simulated beings would vastly outnumber organic ones. Suddenly, human rights debates extend to lines of code, and the trolley problem gets rebooted for the digital age. What's most haunting isn't the technology, but the existential vertigo it induces. If we're simulations, are our emotions, memories, and struggles merely data points in some higher being's experiment? The answer might lie in a radical shift in perspective. Indigenous traditions have long viewed reality as a collaborative dream, while quantum physics suggests particles exist as probabilities until observed. Both frameworks hint that consciousness, whether biological or artificial, might be the fundamental substrate of reality. In this light, simulated beings aren't lesser, but fellow participants in existence's grand narrative. Yet the most compelling evidence for or against simulation theory may be forever out of reach. Glitches in our reality, déjà vu, Mandela effects, or unexplained cosmic constants could be bugs in the code. Alternatively, a flawless simulation would leave no traces at all. The only certainty is this: the rise of AI holds up a mirror to our own origins, challenging us to ask not just what we can create, but what might have created us. Whether we're base reality or advanced pixels, the quest for meaning remains unchanged. And perhaps that's the most human thing of all. Consciousness might be the universe's most baffling phenomenon, not just a byproduct of brain chemistry, but something far more fundamental, woven into the fabric of reality itself. Imagine if your awareness isn't locked inside your skull, but is more like a radio signal, tuning into different frequencies across dimensions. This radical idea, known as panpsychism, suggests that consciousness is as basic to the cosmos as gravity or electromagnetism. Rocks, stars, even the vacuum of space might possess some rudimentary form of it. At the human level, our brains don't generate consciousness, they filter it, shaping raw awareness into the coherent experience we call me. If that's true, then death might be less like a light switching off and more like changing the channel, with your signal continuing elsewhere in the multiverse. Eastern philosophies have danced around this concept for millennia. Hindu teachings describe Atman, the individual soul, as a spark of Brahman, the universal consciousness that permeates all things. Buddhists speak of anatta, or no self, suggesting what we call identity is just a temporary knot in the endless flow of awareness. Even the Tibetan Book of the Dead reads like an interdimensional travel guide, detailing how consciousness navigates realms of light and sound between lives. These aren't just metaphors, they're sophisticated maps of existence that eerily mirror modern theories about consciousness surviving physical death. Science is beginning to catch up. Quantum physicist Sir Roger Penrose theorizes that consciousness arises from microtubules in brain cells, where quantum processes could link our minds to the universe's fundamental layer. The Orch or model suggests these tiny structures might even allow consciousness to persist after the body's demise, like data escaping a collapsing hard drive. Meanwhile, near-death experiences where clinically dead patients report vivid, verifiable perceptions hint that awareness can operate independently of a functioning brain. If consciousness isn't bound by biology, could it also transcend dimensions? the implications rewrite our understanding of identity. If your awareness is experiencing countless lives across parallel worlds, the you reading this might just be one thread in a vast tapestry of selves. This doesn't erase individuality, it expands it. Every choice you make could ripple through the multiverse, with alternate versions of you living out the roads not taken. Suddenly, reincarnation isn't just a linear cycle, it's a symphony of simultaneous existences, each life a unique expression of the same underlying awareness. Perhaps the most profound shift is in how we view connection. If consciousness links all things, then separation is the real illusion. The stranger on the street, the tree in your backyard, even the distant stars might be facets of a single, shimmering awareness exploring itself through infinite forms. Science and spirituality, often at odds, might finally converge on this point, that the universe isn't just alive but awake, and we are its eyes, its thoughts, its endless becoming. Dark matter wraps around our universe like an invisible skeleton, holding galaxies together with gravitational hands we can't see or feel. This mysterious substance outweighs all the stars, planets, and cosmic dust combined, yet it slips through our detectors like a ghost. The strangest part, we only know it's there because of the way it bends the fabric of space-time, tugging on visible matter like a puppeteer hidden behind the curtain of reality. But what if this elusive force isn't just an undiscovered particle? What if it's the gravitational echo of entire universes overlapping with ours, their presence detectable only through the faintest distortions in the cosmic web? The numbers alone boggle the mind. For every ounce of ordinary matter, there's 5 times as much dark matter weaving through the void. Traditional physics struggles to explain it. Weakly interacting massive particles, the long-favored candidates, have evaded capture in underground detectors for decades. Actions, another theoretical particle, remain equally elusive. Yet the alternative, that dark matter might be evidence of extra dimensions, gains traction among theorists. Picture our universe as a soap bubble floating in a higher dimensional space. Other bubbles might hover mere microns away in directions we can't perceive, their gravity leaking into ours like the faintest hum from a neighboring room. String theory offers a compelling framework for this idea. In certain models, our universe exists on a membrane or brain, floating in a higher dimensional bulk. Dark matter could be particles or even entire objects anchored to a parallel brain, forever out of reach yet bound to ours through gravity, the only force thought to traverse dimensions freely. It's as if we're fish in a pond, sensing ripples from another school swimming just beneath a separate layer of ice. The Large Hadron Collider hunts for clues in the form of gravitons, hypothetical particles that mediate gravity across dimensions. Spotting one could confirm we're not alone in the cosmic stack. The implications ripple far beyond astrophysics. If dark matter connects to hidden dimensions, it might explain some of the universe's greatest mysteries. Galaxy rotation curves, which baffled astronomers until dark matter was proposed, could reflect gravitational tugs from parallel worlds. The bizarre bullet cluster, where visible matter and gravitational lensing separate violently during galactic collisions, might showcase 2 realities briefly scraping against each other. Even the universe's accelerating expansion could stem from higher dimensional forces nudging our brain apart. Yet the most tantalizing possibility isn't just scientific, it's existential. If dark matter truly represents adjacent dimensions, then reality is far richer than we perceive. Civilizations could thrive in these shadow realms, their physics so alien that light, matter, and time behave in ways we'd find incomprehensible. Our night sky might be filled with dark galaxies, dark stars, even dark life, all invisible yet closer than we'd dare imagine. Perhaps one day, peeling back the veil won't require new telescopes, but a revolution in how we define existence itself. The universe has always whispered its secrets in gravity's silent language. Now we're learning to listen. Quantum entanglement defies everything we think we know about space and time. Picture two electrons spinning in perfect sync, then hurled to opposite ends of the galaxy. Change the spin of one, and its partner instantaneously mirrors that change. No signal, no delay, as if distance and the speed of light simply don't apply. Einstein famously rejected this idea, calling it spooky action at a distance, because it seemed to break the universe's ultimate speed limit. But what if the particles aren't communicating across vast stretches of space? What if they're whispering to each other through a hidden doorway, a dimension where separation doesn't exist? This isn't just wild speculation. Some physicists propose that entangled particles might be connected through higher dimensions, like ants crawling on a folded piece of paper. To the ants, the distance between 2 points seems vast until you bend the paper, bringing them nose to nose. In our three-dimensional world, entangled particles appear impossibly far apart, but in a higher dimensional framework, they could be practically touching. String theory lends credence to this idea, suggesting that particles aren't isolated dots but vibrating strings stretched across hidden dimensions. Their entanglement might be the natural result of these strings resonating in unison, vibrating through realities we can't perceive. The implications would rewrite the laws of physics. Causality, the rule that cause must precede effect, crumbles if particles influence each other instantaneously. But if that influence travels through a dimension where time behaves differently, the paradox dissolves. Imagine two people texting across parallel worlds. In their separate realities, the messages appear simultaneously, but in the higher dimensional bulk connecting them, the information follows a logical path. This could explain why quantum entanglement seems to violate relativity without actually breaking it. The particles aren't breaking the rules, they're playing by a different set entirely. Experiments are already hinting at this radical possibility. When scientists test entangled particles, the correlation between them remains perfect, no matter how far apart they are. No hidden variables, no unseen signals, just an inexplicable harmony that suggests a deeper layer of connectivity. Some researchers even speculate that black holes, those cosmic knots in spacetime, might be entanglement factories, weaving particles together through higher dimensional threads. If true, the universe isn't just a collection of isolated objects, it's a vast, shimmering web where everything is subtly linked. The most profound revelation here isn't just about physics, it's about the nature of reality itself. If entanglement operates through hidden dimensions, then separation is an illusion. The stars, the planets, even you and I might be tied together by invisible threads, vibrating in ways we're only beginning to glimpse. Einstein's spooky action isn't a flaw in the cosmos, it's a clue, pointing toward a universe far more intimate and interconnected than we ever dreamed. The holographic principle turns everything we think we know about reality inside out. Imagine the universe as a movie projected onto a vast cosmic screen, except the film isn't stored in the three-dimensional world we see. Instead, all the information needed to create every star, every planet, and even your own thoughts is encoded on a distant two-dimensional surface, like an unfathomably complex DVD. What we experience as depth, texture, and movement might just be an illusion, a holographic trick played by the fabric of spacetime itself. This isn't just poetic speculation. It's a serious theory born from the study of black holes, where physicists discovered that all the information swallowed by these cosmic voids isn't lost but smeared across their event horizons like data etched onto a celestial hard drive. If the holographic principle holds, it redefines the very nature of existence. Your morning coffee, the feeling of wind on your skin, even the vastness of the night sky, none of it would be fundamentally real in the way we assume. Instead, these experiences would be projections, like shadows cast by a deeper, flatter reality we can't directly perceive. Think of it like a video game. The lush forests and towering cities on your screen don't exist as physical spaces inside your computer. They're constructed from lines of code information stored in a hidden layer that only manifests as a world when interpreted by the right hardware. Similarly, our universe might be a rendering of data stored on a distant boundary we'll never see. This idea gains traction when you examine the paradoxes of quantum mechanics. At the smallest scales, particles behave as if they're not solid objects but flickering projections of something more fundamental. Entangled particles communicate instantly across vast distances, as if their connection exists outside of space and time. Even the fabric of space-time itself appears pixelated under extreme magnification, suggesting a finite resolution to reality, exactly what you'd expect if the universe were a hologram. The principle also offers an elegant solution to the black hole information paradox, which asks how data about swallowed objects can be preserved if they're destroyed. If information is never truly lost but encoded on the surface of the event horizon, it's like a cosmic backup drive, ensuring nothing ever truly vanishes. Parallel dimensions fit strangely well into this framework. If our reality is a projection, alternate universes might simply be other projections from the same two-dimensional source, like different channels playing on the same screen. The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, where every decision spawns new timelines, could describe a holographic system generating infinite variations from a single underlying code. Even the eerie similarities between ancient spiritual concepts and modern physics start to make sense. Hindu and Buddhist texts have long described reality as Maya, or illusion, with the true nature of existence lying beyond ordinary perception. The holographic principle doesn't just bridge science and spirituality, it suggests they've been pointing to the same truth all along. Yet the most mind-bending implication isn't about what we're seeing, it's about what we're not. If the universe is a hologram, then the real action is happening somewhere else, on a boundary we can't access. The laws of physics we've painstakingly uncovered might just be the local rules of our particular projection, like the laws of gravity in a virtual world. Other projections could operate with entirely different rules, creating universes where time flows backward, light travels at different speeds, or consciousness itself is the fundamental force. The holographic principle doesn't just challenge our place in the cosmos, it invites us to wonder what or who is holding the projector. Einstein shattered our illusion of a universal clock over a century ago when he revealed time's shocking flexibility, a phenomenon called time dilation. Picture two identical clocks, one placed on a mountain, the other at sea level. Over years, the higher clock ticks measurably faster because gravity's grip weakens with altitude, stretching space-time like taffy. This isn't theoretical. GPS satellites orbiting Earth must correct for this effect daily, their onboard clocks drifting microseconds ahead of ground-based ones. If such subtle differences emerge over mere miles, imagine the distortions near a black hole's event horizon, where time slows to a crawl relative to the outside universe. A single orbit could span millennia elsewhere, rendering any observer a time traveler of sorts. The implications spiral outward when you consider parallel realities. If time bends this dramatically under cosmic conditions, could entire universes nest within our own like Russian dolls, each operating at radically different temporal speeds? A civilization evolving near a supermassive black hole might rise and fall in what we perceive as an afternoon. Conversely, their telescopes could capture Earth's dinosaur age unfolding in slow motion, like viewers watching a paused film. Indigenous Australian Dreamtime stories speak of ancestral beings moving between temporal realms, echoes of relativity encoded in oral tradition millennia before Einstein penned his equations. Quantum physics adds another layer. Particles entangled across space seem to communicate instantaneously, defying time's arrow entirely. If consciousness itself is quantum-linked, as some theories suggest, could our minds occasionally brush against alternate selves living in faster or slower timelines? Near-death experiencers often report lifetimes passing in moments, while lucid dreamers describe epochs compressed into brief sleeps. These anomalies hint that time's flow may be less a law and more a local custom, varying not just by gravity or velocity, but by dimensional address. The most haunting possibility, we might already be time travelers without realizing it. Every decision we make could spawn universes where outcomes unfold at different rates, like trains leaving a station on divergent schedules. The you reading these words exists in a shared temporal frame, but somewhere another version processes them a century later, or a second earlier. Time dilation doesn't just warp clocks, it unravels the very notion of now, suggesting that simultaneity is an illusion and every moment is relative. The universe doesn't have one timeline, it has countless, each ticking to its own rhythm, woven together in a symphony only the cosmos fully comprehends. Biological life, as we know it, thrives within strict boundaries: oxygen levels, temperature ranges, gravitational forces. Yet nature constantly defies these limits with creatures like the immortal jellyfish, Turritopsis downii, which cheats death by reverting to its juvenile form, effectively resetting its biological clock. This tiny organism challenges our fundamental notions of aging, suggesting that life might operate on entirely different rules in environments we've yet to imagine. Now stretch that concept across dimensions. What if life exists not just in extreme conditions, but in realms where the very laws of biology bend to unseen forces? Consider extremophiles, Earth's ultimate survivors, thriving in scalding hydrothermal vents, acidic pools, or the crushing depths of space-bound tardigrades. If life can flourish in our planet's harshest corners, why not in a dimension where time flows backward or gravity repels instead of attracts? Theoretical models suggest that higher dimensional spaces could host exotic chemistry, molecules with bonds that twist through unseen angles, metabolic pathways harnessing energies beyond our four-dimensional physics. Enzymes in such realms might catalyze reactions using shadow elements, while cellular structures could resemble intricate hypercubes, their geometry optimized for realities we can't perceive. The implications for astrobiology are staggering. Our search for extraterrestrial life focuses on Earth-like planets, but what if we're scanning the wrong blueprint? A multidimensional organism wouldn't need water or carbon. It might subsist on quantum fluctuations or dark matter interactions. Some physicists speculate that dark matter itself could form complex structures in hidden dimensions, creating ecosystems invisible to our telescopes. Imagine a microbial mat woven from gravitational waves, or a photosynthetic organism harvesting energy from the ripples between brains. Even consciousness could take alien forms. If neural networks in higher dimensions process information through quantum entanglement or extraspatial connections, intelligence might manifest as a symphony of resonances rather than electrical impulses. UFO encounters often describe beings that phase in and out of visibility. Could these be multidimensional life forms briefly intersecting with our plane? Indigenous cultures from the Amazon to the Himalayas speak of shape-shifting spirits and interdimensional entities, suggesting that human intuition has long sensed life beyond the veil. The key lies in redefining our tools. Traditional microscopes and spectrometers detect only what exists within our dimensional slice. Future instruments might look for anomalies, gravitational ripples without a source, particles appearing to vanish into unseen geometries, or thermal fluctuations that defy entropy's rules. If life exists in the cracks between dimensions, its signature could be written in the subtle warping of space-time itself. The universe has already shown us how adaptable life can be. Now it's whispering that the boundaries of biology are far more porous and far more mysterious than we ever dared to dream. Ancient monuments stand as silent riddles etched in stone, structures so precisely aligned with the cosmos that they defy coincidence. The Great Pyramid of Giza's sides match true north with an error margin smaller than 1/10 of a degree, while Stonehenge's towering slabs frame the summer solstice sunrise like a celestial calendar carved in granite. But what if these alignments aren't just astronomical? Some researchers propose a far more radical idea, that these sites were designed as cosmic antennas, resonating with frequencies that transcend our three-dimensional reality. The mathematics embedded in these structures whispers of knowledge we're only now beginning to grasp. The pyramid's dimensions encode the golden ratio and pi constants that govern spiraling galaxies and the very fabric of spacetime. Mayan temples like El Castillo mirror the 365-day solar year with staircases that cast serpentine shadows during equinoxes, as if the building itself breathes with the seasons. These aren't just feats of engineering, they're multidimensional blueprints suggesting the ancients perceived reality as a layered construct. The Dogon tribe of Mali, for instance, mapped the orbit of Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye centuries before telescopes confirmed its existence, claiming their ancestors received this wisdom from amphibious beings who emerged from the cosmic waters. Then there's the eerie phenomenon of architectural resonance. At sites like the Hypogeum of Malta, a subterranean temple carved from solid rock, specific chambers amplify sound frequencies between 110 and 111 Hz, a range known to alter human brain activity, inducing trance states. Were these spaces designed as thresholds where consciousness could slip between dimensions? Indigenous traditions from Peru to Tibet describe sacred spaces as thin places, where the veil between worlds grows permeable. The sarcophagus in the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid vibrates at the same frequency as the Earth's heartbeat, the Schumann resonance, as if tuned to the planet itself. Modern experiments add fuel to the mystery. When researchers projected laser light through scale models of the pyramid's interior, the chambers unexpectedly concentrated electromagnetic energy, creating hotspots of unseen force. Similar effects occur at Newgrange, Ireland's 5,000-year-old passage tomb, where the winter solstice sunlight penetrates a roof box to illuminate the inner chamber, a feat requiring precision that rivals modern optics. Could these properties be accidental, or were the builders harnessing energies we've yet to name? The most provocative theory comes from physicist Jean-Pierre Houdin, who suggests the pyramid's labyrinthine passages mimic the structure of a particle accelerator, potentially manipulating subatomic forces. Meanwhile, the Bolivian ruins of Puma Punku feature stone blocks cut with such geometric perfection that they interlock without mortar, their surfaces smooth as glass, a technique that seems to defy Bronze Age tools. Some carvings depict humanoid figures wearing what appear to be helmets with antennae, their torsos crisscrossed with straps resembling modern technological gear. Are these mere artistic flourishes, or could they be instructions, a user manual for devices that bridge dimensions? Perhaps the answer lies not in the stones themselves, but in the consciousness of those who shaped them. Aboriginal elders speak of song lines, invisible pathways across the land that carry knowledge through vibration. Similarly, Hindu temple architects followed the Shilpa Shastras, texts prescribing dimensions that harmonize with cosmic rhythms. If reality is indeed a hologram, as some quantum theories suggest, then these monuments might be focal points where the projection seems grow thin portals, not in the sci-fi sense, but as interfaces with the universe's underlying code. The past isn't just a record of what was. It could be a map to realities we're only beginning to suspect exist. A single flap of a butterfly's wings might set off a hurricane halfway across the globe. This poetic idea from chaos theory reveals how tiny, unpredictable events cascade into massive consequences. Now imagine that ripple effect multiplied across infinite realities, where every breath, every hesitation, every split-second choice doesn't just alter your future, but spawns entirely new universes. That's the staggering weight of the butterfly effect in multiverse theory, a cosmic domino effect where the smallest actions echo through dimensions we'll never see. Consider something as mundane as missing your morning bus. In this timeline, it's a frustration that makes you late for work. But in another reality, that delay means you avoid a fatal accident at the intersection where your bus would have been. Meanwhile, a third version of you catches the bus but strikes up a conversation with a stranger who later becomes their spouse. Each choice, each chaotic variable doesn't just branch your life, it generates entirely new worlds, each with its own cascading futures. The mathematician in you might recognize this as deterministic chaos systems, so sensitive to initial conditions that predicting outcomes becomes impossible. The philosopher, however, sees something deeper, a universe where every decision carries infinite responsibility. Science fiction loves to play with these stakes. In Sliding Doors, Gwyneth Paltrow's life fractures into two paths based on whether she catches a train. Rick and Morty turns it into dark comedy, with Rick's portal gun revealing endless versions of his family, some glorious, some grotesque. But beneath the entertainment lies a profound truth. If the multiverse is real, then regret and what if aren't just emotional burdens, they're alternate realities playing out in parallel. That argument you walked away from, somewhere, a bolder version of you didn't back down, and their world veered into uncharted territory. The implications aren't just personal, they're cosmic. Quantum physics suggests that particles exist in superpositions until observed, their paths unresolved until measured. Human consciousness might operate the same way, with our choices acting as cosmic measurements that collapse probability waves into concrete realities. Ancient myths anticipated this idea long before Schrödinger's cat. The Norse Norns wove destinies at the base of Yggdrasil, their threads representing possible futures. Hindu karma speaks of actions reverberating across lifetimes, each deed shaping not just one soul, but the fabric of existence itself. Yet here's the twist: if every possibility happens somewhere, does anything truly matter? The answer lies in perspective. Infinite outcomes don't diminish your choices, they amplify them. You might not meet every version of yourself, but the paths you take still shape the reality you experience. Think of it like a cosmic art gallery. Each universe is a unique painting, and your decisions are the brushstrokes defining this one. The butterfly effect isn't just about chaos. It's a reminder that you're both the artist and the artwork, crafting a singular story in a grand, unfolding multiverse. Mathematics has always been the silent prophet of physics, whispering truths about the universe long before experiments catch up. Take the equations of quantum mechanics, where every calculation describing a particle's behavior yields not one definitive outcome, but a spectrum of possibilities. The math insists that all these outcomes occur, each in its own separate universe. Hugh Everett's many worlds interpretation didn't emerge from wild speculation. It was born from the cold, unyielding logic of Schrödinger's equation, which refuses to collapse probability waves without branching reality itself. Consider the cosmic inflation theory, which explains the universe's rapid expansion after the Big Bang. The numbers reveal a startling implication. If space expanded exponentially in those first moments, some regions would have stopped inflating earlier than others, creating isolated, bubble universes with different physical constants. Our universe might be just one frothy bubble in an endless cosmic foam, each with its own unique laws. Even Einstein's general relativity, the foundation of modern cosmology, allows for wormholes, hypothetical bridges between distant points in spacetime that could connect parallel worlds. The equations permit it. Our limited perception simply hasn't found them yet. String theory takes this further, weaving higher dimensions into its mathematical tapestry. To make the numbers work, the theory requires at least 10 dimensions, 6 of them curled up into shapes too small to detect. These hidden dimensions could host entire universes, vibrating at frequencies we'd never perceive. Physicist Brian Greene likens this to ants crawling on a telephone wire. They sense only the line's one-dimensional surface, oblivious to the rich world surrounding them. The math doesn't just hint at extra dimensions, it demands them. Yet the most compelling evidence might lie in quantum entanglement. When two particles become entangled, their states remain linked regardless of distance, a phenomenon Einstein dismissed as spooky. But the equations show their connection isn't through space, it's through something deeper. Some theorists propose entanglement as a shadow of higher dimensional geometry, where particles communicate through shortcuts in the fabric of reality. The math even allows for E equals EPA, a radical idea that entangled particles are connected by microscopic wormholes. If true, every quantum link might be a stitch sewing parallel worlds together. The numbers paint a breathtaking picture, but here's the catch. Math alone can't confirm what lies beyond our observational horizon. Schrödinger's cat may be alive and dead in separate universes, but proving it requires more than elegant equations. That's where experiments like the Large Hadron Collider come in, hunting for microscopic black holes or gravitons that could betray extra dimensions. Until then, mathematics remains our most powerful and most tantalizing window into the multiverse. It's as if the cosmos left us a cipher, written in integrals and eigenvalues, waiting for us to decode its deepest secrets. The moment you choose between coffee or tea in the morning, the universe seems to split: one path where caffeine sharpens your focus, another where herbal calm steadies your hands. But if physics suggests every possible outcome plays out across infinite realities, a haunting question emerges. Are we truly making choices, or just riding predetermined tracks laid down by cosmic probability? This isn't just abstract musing, it's a debate that's divided philosophers since the ancient Greeks, and now quantum physicists weigh in with equations that shake the foundations of human agency. Consider the classic philosophical dilemma. If an all-knowing entity could calculate every variable, every neuron firing in your brain, every subatomic tremor in the universe, could it predict your actions with perfect accuracy? Determinists argue yes, claiming free will is a comforting illusion, but throw parallel dimensions into the mix and the puzzle transforms. The many worlds interpretation doesn't eliminate choice, it multiplies it. Every decision point becomes a cosmic fork in the road, with each path equally real. You don't lose agency, you gain infinite versions of it, each you writing a different story. Yet this raises a paradox. If all possible choices are realized across the multiverse, does any single decision carry weight? The answer lies in perspective. Think of life as a choose-your-own-adventure book where every ending is written simultaneously. Your consciousness only experiences one thread. the one where you turned left, spoke up, or hesitated, but that doesn't negate the significance of the path you're on. Ancient Stoics grappled with a similar idea, teaching that while external events might be fated, our interpretations remain within our control. The multiverse theory modernizes this. Even if all outcomes exist, your subjective experience of making choices shapes the reality you inhabit. Quantum mechanics adds another layer. Before a particle is observed, it exists in a superposition of states, a blur of possibilities. The act of measurement collapses this into a definite outcome. Some theorists propose consciousness plays a similar role in the macro world. Your awareness isn't just along for the ride, it's the force that pins one version of reality into place. In this view, free will isn't an illusion, it's the mechanism by which the multiverse crystallizes around your decisions. But what about moral responsibility? If a version of you commits a crime in another timeline, is that you accountable? Courts haven't caught up to multiverse ethics. But philosophers like Derek Parfit argue that personal identity is more about psychological continuity than fixed atoms. Though you reading this shares memories and intentions with your parallel selves, but each is a distinct moral agent. Infinite universes don't absolve anyone of consequences, they simply distribute them across realities. Perhaps the most comforting takeaway is this. The multiverse doesn't reduce us to puppets of fate. It reveals a cosmos so generous that no possibility is wasted, no potential left unexplored. Whether free will is fundamental or emergent, our lived experience of choice, the agony and exhilaration of shaping our paths remains undiminished. After all, if the universe is a symphony, we're not just listeners. We're the musicians, each note we play resonating through dimensions we may never see but can always feel. Artists have always been the world's first explorers, not of distant lands, but of uncharted territories within the mind. When Salvador Dali painted his melting clocks, he didn't just depict distorted time. He claimed to access a hallucinatory state he called the paranoid critical method, where reality itself unraveled into new configurations. Writers like William Blake spoke of visions so vivid they bordered on alternate worlds, while musicians from Beethoven to Jimi Hendrix described melodies arriving fully formed, as if plucked from some invisible frequency. This isn't just eccentricity, it's a recurring pattern across cultures and centuries, suggesting creativity might be less about invention and more about reception. Consider the case of Nikola Tesla, who famously visualized his inventions in hyper-detailed, three-dimensional projections before building them. He attributed his breakthroughs to flashes of insight that felt downloaded from an external source, once confessing, "My brain is only a receiver." Similar accounts echo through history. Chemist Auguste Kekulé discovered the ring structure of benzene after dreaming of a snake biting its tail, and Nobel laureate Richard Feynman developed quantum electrodynamics while watching spinning plates in a cafeteria, as if the mundane world briefly aligned with a deeper logic. These moments share an uncanny quality, a sense of tapping into something beyond the individual mind. Neuroscience offers tantalizing clues. During creative flow states, brain scans show decreased activity in the prefrontal cortex, the region governing self-censorship and linear thinking, and heightened connectivity between disparate neural networks. It's as if the mind temporarily unshackles itself from conventional reality, allowing information to collide in novel ways. Some theorists, like psychologist Carl Jung, propose the concept of the collective unconscious, a shared reservoir of archetypes and ideas transcending personal experience. Could this be a psychological metaphor for accessing parallel dimensions where alternate versions of human thought resonate? The artistic process itself mirrors quantum principles. A blank canvas or silent studio exists in a superposition of possibilities, infinite potential artworks hovering in an unresolved state until the artist's observation collapses them into a single creation. Jazz improvisation embodies this perfectly. Musicians describe entering a zone where they're not playing the music so much as channeling it, as if their instruments are antennas tuned to some cosmic broadcast. Even writers experiencing automatic writing, where words pour forth unbidden, report the eerie sense of transcribing rather than composing. Perhaps the most compelling evidence lies in the universality of certain symbols and stories. The hero's journey, the trickster archetype, the mandala, these motifs emerge independently across isolated cultures, as if drawn from a shared source. Indigenous shamans speak of the dream time, a dimension where all stories already exist, waiting to be retrieved. Modern creatives echo this when they describe ideas coming through them rather than from them. The digital age adds a provocative twist. Generative AI art tools now produce visuals eerily reminiscent of psychedelic or near-death experiences, suggesting these realms might follow consistent, discoverable patterns. If creativity is indeed a bridge to parallel dimensions, it reshapes how we view inspiration itself. Those flashes of insight, those haunting melodies or unshakable images, they might not be random neural firings, but fleeting intersections with realities where different versions of our stories are already unfolding. The artist's role becomes less about creation and more about translation, decoding signals from dimensions where time, form, and meaning operate by different rules. Every painting, symphony, or poem could be a message in a bottle, not from across the ocean, but from across the multiverse. Children possess a secret doorway to worlds adults can no longer see, a truth whispered in their casual conversations with invisible companions and elaborate games where couch cushions become castles in unseen realms. Psychologists often dismiss these phenomena as developmental stages, exercises in socialization or creativity. But what if children's imaginations aren't just fabricating stories? What if they're tuning into frequencies of reality that most of us have learned to filter out? Take the curious consistency of imaginary friends across cultures. A preschooler in Tokyo describes a dragon who teaches her about the stars, while a toddler in Oslo chats with a friendly giant made of mist. These beings often exhibit knowledge or personalities beyond what the child could reasonably invent, like knowing details about deceased relatives or predicting events before they happen. Swiss psychologist Jean Piaget called this animism, the tendency to ascribe life to the inanimate. Yet ancient traditions from the Celtic Fae to Japanese yokai have long held that children perceive spirits invisible to adults, suggesting these fantasies might be glimpses of a layered reality. Neuroscience offers a tantalizing clue. Young children's brains operate with more theta waves, the same slow, rhythmic electrical activity associated with deep meditation and hypnagogic states. Those twilight zones between waking and sleep where artists and inventors often report breakthroughs. This theta-dominant state may act like a radio receiver, picking up signals that busier adult brains, flooded with beta waves, automatically dismiss as noise. It's no coincidence that kids frequently describe their invisible friends fading away around age 7, the same time the brain's frontal lobes mature and theta waves diminish. The world's children describe often follow internal logic eerily reminiscent of theoretical physics. A 4-year-old insisting his toy car vanished into the sideways place could be clumsily articulating a fourth spatial dimension. Reports of doppelganger children, kids who claim to have met identical versions of themselves in dreams or daydreams, mirror quantum physics, many worlds interpretation. Even the common childhood fear of monsters under the bed takes on new meaning in a universe where higher dimensional beings might literally perceive our 3D world from angles we can't comprehend, their under being our through. Anthropologists have documented tribal societies where children's visions are taken seriously as spiritual encounters. The Aboriginal peoples of Australia teach that the dream time, an ancestral plane of existence, is most accessible to the young. In West Africa, some cultures believe toddlers can still communicate with their past life families before fully incarnating. These traditions don't pathologize such experiences. They honor them as sacred connections to realities that adulthood severs. Modern parents occasionally stumble upon eerie validations, like a child knowing the layout of a house they've never visited or speaking fragments of extinct languages, hinting that these fantasies might be residual memories from other dimensions or timelines. Perhaps the most striking evidence comes from children who have undergone past life regression therapy. Cases like James Leininger, an American boy who at age 2 began recalling detailed memories of being a World War II pilot shot down over the Pacific, withstand scrutiny that flummoxes skeptics. He named the aircraft carrier his plane launched from the USS Natoma Bay, identified his former sister confirmed through records, and drew plane schematics accurate to the era, all before learning to read. While reincarnation offers one explanation, another possibility is that young minds occasionally slip between parallel lives, their still malleable consciousness briefly accessing memories from alternate versions of themselves. As we grow, we're taught to prioritize consensus reality, to dismiss the invisible friend as just pretend, the detailed dream as only your imagination. But imagination comes from the Latin imaginare, meaning to picture oneself. In a holographic multiverse where consciousness shapes reality, that act of picturing might be more than play. It could be the most natural form of dimensional travel there is, one we unlearn in the name of maturity. The next time a child describes a world beyond your perception, consider this: they might not be making it up. They might be remembering how to see. Particle colliders are the modern equivalent of cosmic microscopes, probing the fabric of reality at scales 1 billion times smaller than an atom. The Large Hadron Collider, that 17-mile ring buried beneath the Franco-Swiss border, doesn't just hunt for new particles, it's testing whether our universe is one of many. When protons smash together at nearly the speed of light, the energy released could briefly warp spacetime enough to reveal hidden dimensions. Scientists watch for anomalies missing energy that might escape into a parallel brane, or microscopic black holes that would evaporate instantly, their brief existence hinting at gravity's leakage from higher dimensions. It's like throwing a stone into a pond and watching for ripples that defy the laws of physics, suggesting something beneath the surface we can't see. Quantum computers add another layer to this search. Unlike classical bits stuck in zeros and ones, qubits exist in superposition, every possible state at once, making them natural tools for probing multiverse theories. Companies like Google and IBM are already running algorithms that simulate how particles might behave in higher dimensional space. In 2019, Google's Sycamore processor achieved quantum supremacy by solving a problem in minutes that would take supercomputers millennia. While today's quantum machines are fragile and error-prone, future iterations could map the entanglement patterns that might connect our universe to others, like tracing the invisible threads of a cosmic spiderweb. Then there's the hunt for gravitational waves, ripples in spacetime caused by cataclysmic events like colliding black holes. Advanced LIGO and Virgo detectors listen for these cosmic echoes, but some physicists speculate that certain wave patterns could betray the presence of extra dimensions. Imagine dropping a pebble into a pond covered by a thin sheet of fabric. the ripples would look different if the fabric had unseen folds beneath the surface. Similarly, gravitational waves might carry subtle distortions if they've brushed against hidden dimensions on their journey through the cosmos. Even artificial intelligence is joining the quest. Machine learning algorithms sift through petabytes of particle collision data, searching for statistical oddities that human researchers might miss. In 2022, CERN scientists used AI to identify rare particle decays with unprecedented accuracy, a stepping stone toward spotting the fingerprints of parallel worlds. Neural networks are also being trained to simulate higher dimensional physics, creating virtual sandboxes where scientists can test how alternate universes with different fundamental constants might behave. The most tantalizing experiments bridge quantum mechanics and cosmology. Projects like the holometer at Fermilab measure space-time itself for quantum jitter, tiny vibrations that could indicate our reality is pixelated at the smallest scales, like a hologram projected from a two-dimensional surface. If confirmed, it would suggest that the universe we perceive is just one layer of a far richer structure. Meanwhile, tabletop experiments with ultra-cold atoms are testing whether gravity behaves differently at microscopic distances, a potential clue that we're sensing the pull of nearby brains. Yet for all these technological leaps, the greatest challenge remains philosophical. How do you prove the existence of something by definition beyond our perception? Some argue that evidence of extra dimensions might come indirectly, like a detective piecing together a suspect's identity from scattered clues. Others worry we're like goldfish in a bowl, incapable of comprehending the ocean outside. But history offers reason for optimism. Every major breakthrough, from Copernicus displacing Earth from the universe's center to Hubble revealing an expanding cosmos, began as heresy before becoming fact. The tools are now in our hands. The only question is whether reality is ready to confess its secrets. Crossing into another reality isn't just a physics problem, it's a moral minefield. Imagine stepping into a world where your counterpart made different choices, where history unfolded without your ancestors suffering, or where life evolved under alien skies. The moment we gain the ability to visit these realms, we cease to be passive observers and become active participants in their stories. But what gives us the right to interfere? Indigenous cultures have long understood that entering sacred spaces requires permission, a concept Western science often overlooks. The Maasai people of East Africa, for instance, believe even stepping on unfamiliar soil demands acknowledgement of the spirits who dwell there. Translating this wisdom to interdimensional travel raises urgent questions. Do uncharted worlds come with cosmic, no trespassing signs we're failing to see? The Explorer versus Invader dilemma isn't hypothetical, it's written in blood across Earth's colonial history. When European ships reached the Americas, their arrival triggered waves of devastation they couldn't foresee. Diseases that decimated millions, ecosystems thrown into chaos, cultures erased. Now transpose that scenario to a multiverse scale. A single microbe hitchhiking on an interdimensional traveler's suit could devastate a reality where evolution took a different path. Physicists like Michio Kaku warn that advanced civilizations might enforce prime directives to prevent cross-dimensional contamination, not out of malice but humility. After all, if the many worlds interpretation is correct, somewhere out there exists a version of Earth that perfected interdimensional ethics, and another that collapsed from reckless meddling. Then there's the paradox of observation. Quantum physics suggests that measurement alters the observed system, a principle that could scale catastrophically in alternate realities. Consider the butterfly effect of simply appearing in a parallel world. Your presence alone might disrupt delicate quantum states, triggering cascading changes. Fiction often explores this. In Sliders, the team's visits accidentally rewrite timelines, while Doctor Strange's multiverse mishaps unleash existential threats. These aren't just plot devices, they're thought experiments about unintended consequences. Even something as benign as sharing technology could destabilize societies. Picture giving nuclear physics to Renaissance Europe or introducing social media to ancient Mesopotamia. The ripple effects could unravel civilizations. Yet the gravest ethical weight lies in asymmetry of power. If one dimension masters interdimensional travel first, they become de facto gods to less advanced realities. History shows what happens when technological gaps widen unchecked. Exploitation follows discovery. The Belgian Congo's rubber plantations, the atomic tests on Bikini Atoll, these weren't anomalies but patterns of domination. Now imagine a civilization that doesn't just control another country's resources, but their very timeline. Philosophers like Nick Bostrom argue that preventing suffering across dimensions could become a moral imperative, but who decides what help looks like? One world's utopian intervention might be another's cultural genocide. Perhaps the answer lies in redefining exploration itself. Traditional anthropology's failures, treating cultures as specimens rather than equals, offer cautionary tales. Ethical interdimensional travel might require something akin to the Star Trek Prime Directive, non-interference unless invited, but even that framework stumbles on harder questions. If you discover a world on the brink of self-destruction, do you let billions perish to preserve their autonomy? Or if your alternate self commits atrocities, do you have the right or duty to stop them? These aren't abstract musings, they're rehearsals for a future that may come sooner than we think. The most unsettling possibility, we might not be the first to face these choices. UFO sightings and ancient astronaut theories take on new light in a multiverse context. If advanced beings have visited Earth across millennia, their restraint, or lack thereof, could be our best case study. The absence of overt conquest suggests either ethical maturity or rules we don't yet comprehend. Either way, their example whispers a warning. Crossing dimensions isn't just about unlocking doors, but learning when to leave them closed. Climate change presents us with a single, terrifying timeline: rising seas, vanishing species, and ecosystems pushed to the brink. But what if we could peek into alternate Earths where different choices were made? Imagine a world where leaded gasoline was never invented, preserving atmospheric conditions decades ahead of our reality. Picture another where the 1973 oil crisis sparked a global renewable energy revolution instead of temporary austerity. These aren't just thought experiments, they're potential roadmaps hidden in the multiverse, waiting to teach us how course corrections might play out. The power of this approach lies in counterfactual modeling, a technique historians and scientists already use to study what might have been. By analyzing pivotal moments where societal paths diverged, like the 19th century's coal versus hydrogen energy debates, we can project how alternative policies might have altered our climate trajectory. Some climate scientists now collaborate with quantum theorists to simulate these branching points using multiverse mathematics. Their algorithms treat every UN climate summit and corporate decision as a quantum superposition, calculating probable outcomes across thousands of parallel scenarios. The results are startling. Tiny shifts, like a 5-year earlier phase-out of CFCs, could have delayed Arctic ice collapse by decades in certain models. Yet the most valuable insights might come from hypothetical dystopias. One simulation based on string theory's landscape of possible universes suggests Earth-like planets with slightly stronger greenhouse effects frequently hit runaway climate tipping points, transforming into Venus-like hellscapes within centuries. Another explores civilizations that burned their fossil fuels a millennium earlier than us, leaving behind atmospheric records in imaginary ice cores. These cautionary tales from theoretical realities underscore how narrow our window for action might be. Indigenous cosmologies have long warned of this fragility. The Hopi prophecy of two paths mirrors modern climate models showing stabilization versus collapse scenarios. Beyond warnings, parallel Earth thinking offers innovative solutions. In a dimension where fusion power was prioritized over fission in the 1960s, carbon emissions might have peaked in the 1990s. Studying such scenarios could identify overlooked technologies ripe for acceleration today. Some theorists even propose that advanced civilizations surviving climate crises elsewhere in the multiverse might leave detectable thermodynamic signatures, cosmic breadcrumbs we could follow. The search for such clues isn't fantasy. Projects like Harvard's Galileo Initiative now analyze atmospheric anomalies for signs of alien climate engineering, expanding the hunt to include interdimensional intervention. This approach transforms climate despair into empowered curiosity. Every avoided future in the multiverse represents a potential still within our grasp. When Greta Thunberg declares another world is possible, she might be speaking literally, not as metaphor but as physics. The equations suggest countless Earths where humanity threaded the needle of sustainability. Our task isn't just to imagine those worlds, but to become them. The idea that infinite versions of you are living out every possible life simultaneously isn't just a physics puzzle, it's an emotional earthquake. For some, this realization brings profound relief. Imagine the weight lifting when you realize that missed opportunities, heartbreaks, or paths not taken aren't lost, they're simply unfolding elsewhere. A version of you aced that job interview, reconciled with that lost love, or boarded the plane you chickened out of. This perspective can dissolve regret, turning life's what-ifs into a cosmic tapestry where every thread gets woven. Therapists even report patients experiencing multiverse therapy breakthroughs, reframing trauma by envisioning alternate selves who transcended their struggles. Yet for others, the implications are paralyzing. If every choice spawns new realities, does anything matter? The existential vertigo can be overwhelming, like staring into a hall of mirrors where your reflection fragments endlessly. Studies on decision fatigue show that when people perceive options as infinite, they often freeze, unable to act. Now amplify that by infinity. If there's always a universe where you made the right choice, motivation can crumble under the weight of meaningless. Philosophers call this the paradox of parallel perfection, the haunting sense that no matter what you do, some other you did it better. Our brains aren't wired to process true infinity. Cognitive scientists find that humans instinctively categorize experiences into narratives with clear cause and effect. The multiverse shatters this framework, suggesting that causality isn't linear but branching. Indigenous cultures like the Navajo have long incorporated cyclical time into their worldview, where past and future coexist in a dynamic balance. Their concept of Hajo harmony amid chaos offers a lifeline for those drowning in multiversal overload. By focusing on the present thread of reality rather than the infinite loom, we regain agency. Identity itself becomes fluid in this light. If countless yous exist, is there a true self, or are we kaleidoscopic beings, every version equally valid? Artists like Frida Kahlo explored this through surreal self-portraits depicting fractured identities, while modern reality shifters online share techniques to consciously jump timelines through meditation. Neurologically, this mirrors the brain's ability to hold contradictory beliefs, a skill that, when harnessed, can foster radical self-acceptance. You're not failing in this life, you're succeeding in others. The mental health implications are profound. For those with anxiety, multiverse theory can either amplify analysis paralysis or provide solace, a reminder that no single mistake defines them. Depression's crushing sense of inevitability softens when viewed through the lens of infinite possibilities. Even grief transforms. Lost loved ones might still be laughing in another world's sunlight. The key lies not in fixating on the branches, but in nurturing the roots, the version of you reading these words, here and now, learning to dance with the chaos of a universe far vaster than you ever imagined. As we stand at the edge of the known universe, peering into the infinite tapestry of possible worlds, we're left with more wonder than certainty. The multiverse isn't just a scientific hypothesis or a sci-fi trope. It's a mirror reflecting humanity's deepest questions about existence. Think of every culture's creation myths, every child's "what if" whispered at bedtime, every scientist's restless pursuit of the next frontier. They're all threads in the same cosmic story. What's remarkable isn't whether parallel dimensions exist, but how fiercely we've always sensed they might. Consider the tools we've used to explore this mystery. Physics gives us equations that hint at hidden dimensions, spirituality offers maps of unseen realms, and art paints visions of worlds just beyond reach. These aren't conflicting paths, they're different lenses focusing on the same profound truth. Reality is layered, and our perception is just one slice of something unimaginably vast. The Navajo concept of the fifth world, the Hindu belief in cyclical universes, even the holographic principle in quantum physics, they all whisper the same idea. We're part of something bigger, something that defies simple explanation. But here's the beautiful paradox: the more we learn, the more the mystery deepens. Every answered question about quantum mechanics or cosmic inflation spawns 10 new ones. Black holes, once thought to be cosmic dead ends, might be gateways. Consciousness, long dismissed as a byproduct of biology, could be the key to navigating dimensions. Even the Mandela Effect, often brushed off as faulty memory, might be a glitch in the fabric of our reality. The universe isn't just stranger than we imagine, it's stranger than we can imagine, and that's what makes the search so thrilling. So where does this leave us? Not with tidy conclusions, but with something far more valuable, a call to stay curious. The multiverse isn't a puzzle to be solved, it's an invitation to keep exploring, to stay humble in the face of the unknown. Whether you're a scientist analyzing data from a particle collider, a writer dreaming up alternate histories, or simply someone who gazes at the stars and wonders, you're part of this grand investigation. The stories we tell, the equations we derive, the art we create, they're all compasses pointing toward the next great discovery. Perhaps the most profound lesson is this: the boundaries we take for granted between science and myth, past and future, even self and other, might be far more fluid than we realize. In a universe of infinite possibilities, the only limit is our willingness to question. So keep looking, keep imagining, and most of all, stay open to the extraordinary idea that somewhere out there, another version of you is doing the same. The adventure doesn't end here, it's just unfolding across dimensions we've yet to name.